First up, we're in Columbus, Ohio, at the Franklin County Government Center for the sentencing of 44-year-old Donald Mullins. He was found guilty of aggravated burglary, robbery, and theft. Mullins had stolen $500 from an elderly neighbor. But a sweet tooth proved to be his undoing, as his DNA was found at the scene on a cookie. At sentencing, Judge Mark Surratt issues Mullins a sentence of 4 to 6 years in prison. But this defendant has a much sweeter deal in mind. Mullins flees the 6th floor courtroom and 2 deputies quickly follow behind. Mullins appears to let go of a radio that was secured to one of the deputies' uniforms before jumping over a balcony railing and landing on the 5th floor. The 2 deputies continue their pursuit while 2 others join the scene. And soon the commotion catches the attention of several onlookers, including this guy who was just sitting on a bench in the hallway minding his own business. As for Mullins, his escape attempt has a bitter ending when he lands on the 5th floor and badly injured. He's unable to get up and lays on the floor for several minutes with law enforcement surrounding him. He was later taken to Grant Medical Center, where he was treated for a broken leg and a head injury. Donald Mullins was charged with escaping custody and was expected to get additional time for his failed getaway. Next, we're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a bond hearing. 29-year-old Jermaine Levy was charged with trespassing after he allegedly refused to leave a liquor store at the manager's request. Earlier, Levy had a short chat with Judge Michael Davis and now greets him with a dose of enthusiasm.
All right, good morning, Mr. Levy. You're charged with...
Good morning again, sir.
Good morning again. You're charged with a trespass.
I'm charged with trees.
Yeah, I'm gonna find...
It seems Levy is confused about what he's actually charged with, so he bluntly interrupts the judge.
Trespass.
I'm charged with trees.
Yeah, I'm gonna find...
After clarifying his charges for trespassing, not marijuana, Levy asked the public defender to join the conversation.
I'm gonna find probable cause for the trespass. I'm
No. Let my lawyer talk for me.
Off camera, the public defender chimes in.
Judge, in accordance to I spoke with Mr. Levy.
Can I get an ROR?
Let me ask.
Levy's asking for an ROR, which means released on own recognizance, meaning there wouldn't be cash bail set. Despite sounding annoyed by Levy's interruption,
Let me ask.
the public defender makes the request.
He's charged with a simple trespass. I'm respectfully asking that he be released on his own recognizance.
But without missing a beat, the judge gives a simple answer.
I understand. That's denied. You'll see Judge Lerner Wren soon. Good luck, sir.
And that's when Levy sends his own message. And no, those are not 2 thumbs up.
All done. All right.
Jermaine Levy later pleaded no contest to the trespassing charge and was ordered to pay $293 in court fees. Next, we head to the Franklin County Courthouse in Columbus, Ohio. The morning arraignment just finished, and a group of female defendants are loaded onto a bus on their way to jail. Keep your eyes on the 2 women in the back of the line. They just slipped under the carriage of the bus in a bold attempt to escape. These brazen women are Tracy Mobley, 39, charged with aggravated theft, and Mary Morrissey, 40, charged with a number of traffic violations, including drunken driving. The 2 women apparently concocted this plan on their way to the bus. Here they are near the end of the line. Notice how they step quickly and move to the back. As you can see, their legs are free, but they're shackled at the wrists to each other. And without a security guard in sight, they put the plan into action. Watch again as they casually scoot under the bus. With both women now clinging to the undercarriage, the ride begins. About 20 seconds later, the bus stops at a light, and the defendants make their move. There's Morrissey over by the wall. Somehow she's broken free from Mobley and takes off. What she doesn't realize is that sitting in this car is Terry Meyer, who just happens to work for a private detective agency. He sees what's happening, so he gets out and chases after Morrissey. Meanwhile, off-camera, Mobley has also fled the scene. But police detective Amy Morris, who was on her way to court, sees Mobley, tackles her to the ground, and turns her in. Meanwhile, Meyer also manages to return Morrissey to the courthouse as well. She suffered no serious injuries and is returned to police. Mobley, however, is not so lucky. She suffers a broken back during the attempted escape and is taken to a hospital. In addition to their pending cases, both women are later charged with felony escape. Next, we head to Skokie, Illinois. 30-year-old Jerome Tounsel's here for a bond hearing. The charge, criminal trespassing. Before he sees the judge, Tounsel makes a phone call, perhaps to his attorney or a family member. A couple of deputies keep watch, as this guy quietly waits for Tounsel to finish. He's been on for about 30 seconds and everything looks fine. It's been over a minute now and Tounsel's still chatting away. He's been on for 3 minutes and the officers seem to be growing impatient. One motions to him, perhaps telling Tounsel to wrap it up. Tounsel appears frustrated. He even gives the deputies the hang on a second gesture. Perhaps feeling the gesture wasn't enough, he tries a different approach. Tounsel squares up with fists drawn. The deputy gives him a shove and then punches begin flying. 4 deputies are now on the scene. This female deputy strikes the resisting defendant. Finally, the deputies get Tounsel in cuffs. By now, it looks like 8 deputies have arrived to make sure the defendant goes quietly. Tounsel's taken away as this guy re-enters the picture, perhaps hoping his phone call goes a bit better. The 4 deputies were all taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Tounsel refused medical treatment and later appeared before a judge where he was ordered held in lieu of a $150,000 bond. Additional charges are expected. We're headed south, way south, to Wollongong, Australia for a sentencing hearing. Seated inside what's known as the dock is the defendant, 25-year-old Jesse Rose. The one-time aspiring rugby league player pleaded guilty to the charge of reckless wounding for an assault captured in this surveillance video. After receiving a complaint about Rose's drunken behavior in a pub, he and his mate are asked to leave by security. But when he refuses, a second camera shows things turning physical, and one of the security guards ends up on the floor. Backing away from the situation, Rose then hurls his drinking glass at the downed man, striking him in the head. The guard suffered serious injuries, including a laceration and depressed skull. Now at sentencing, Rose's attorney made a case to not send him to jail, claiming he's a changed man, holding down a steady job and living on the straight and narrow. But Judge Andrew Hasler makes it clear this is no kangaroo court, stating that the assault was too serious to consider leniency. And right about now, he announces Rose's sentence, 14 months in prison. But as one door closes for the defendant, he kicks another one wide open. Unhappy with his sentence, Rose perhaps channels his rugby days and boots open the divider door. It's unclear what he says to these two security guards. The guard takes a step or two back. After some more jawing, Rose takes things up a notch and throws not one, but 2 chairs at the guards. Those are not folding chairs Rose just tossed. Those are standard office chairs weighing up to 60 pounds, or 27 kilograms in Australia. What you might have missed is this guard who sneaks around the backside of the dock and, like a boomerang, flies back into action. First bobbing and weaving, then going down under for a tackle. With the help of the other guard, Rose is pinned to the floor. His girlfriend can be seen in the rear of the courtroom. Other officers eventually enter, get Rose to his feet, and escort him out. For his courtroom tantrum, Jesse Rose was charged with property damage and assaulting a law enforcement officer. An additional 8 months was added to his original 14-month sentence. For our next story, we need to warn you. It contains images that may be disturbing for some viewers.
Sandra Twiggs.
Yes, ma'am.
We're at a bond hearing in Broward County, Florida, for a disturbing incident involving Judge Marilee Ehrlich.
Good morning, ma'am.
The defendant is 59-year-old Sandra Twiggs. She's charged with misdemeanor domestic battery against her 18-year-old daughter. Twig relies on a wheelchair. She suffers from asthma, diabetes, and pulmonary disease.
I've read the probable cause affidavit.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have to respond to each thing, but thank you.
At first, Judge Ehrlich is cordial toward the defendant. But that doesn't last.
Recent priors.
None.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm asking my courtroom staff.
okay,
That's okay. I'll let you know each time I'm talking to you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You okay, ma'am?
Yes, I have asthma with COPD and I have a cough today.
Okay.
Okay.
Apparently, she and her adult daughter live in the same home, and they had a verbal altercation about who gets the fan.
The judge reviews the case, but there seems to be some information missing.
I don't know whose house this is. I don't know if she's in a position to evict. Excuse me, don't tell me.
The judge is beginning to show some frustration.
Does your daughter live with you, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. But she also
Excuse me, don't say anything beyond what I am asking you. Trust me, I am
you.
Ma'am.
So she lives with my daughter.
She lives with who?
She lives with me and she lives with my daughter in Miami.
Is that a different location?
Yes, in Coconut.
Excuse me.
The judge's impatience grows.
Ma'am, my one question to you, can someone there give her water as a kindness? Ma'am, do you need water? Just nod your head.
Yes, and I'm breathing treatment.
Ma'am, I'm not here to talk to you about your breathing treatment.
I can't breathe.
Excuse me. Oh, Lord.
It's clear Twiggs is struggling, but the judge just gets increasingly irritated.
I'm not going to spend all day with her interrupting me. It's your turn to speak, counsel.
Sorry, I'm done.
Miss Twiggs, just stay silent for a moment.
Twiggs takes counsel's advice as Judge Ehrlich tries to finish up the hearing. But it's not enough to avoid Judge Ehrlich's wrath.
Do you want her to stay in the home but have no harmful contact with you?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. I need her.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
Instead of bond, the judge offers Twiggs pretrial release.
Yes, Your Honor.
Instead of money, do you want to be supervised by pretrial release?
Is that the right answer? Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Pretrial services.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ma'am, listen.
I don't know what to say.
You've already said too much. Listen, please.
Yes.
Once again, the judge berates the already rattled Twiggs.
Don't even say yes. Just listen. Can you hear me? Do you understand me?
Yes.
You have to check in with pretrial services by noon on Monday. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. You can return her.
Does that mean I can go home?
An exasperated Judge Ehrlich seems relieved and the hearing's over, but the story does not end there. Just 3 days later, Sandra Twigg passed away in her sleep at home. After video of Twigg's appearance in court was made public, Ehrlich's treatment of the defendant came under intense scrutiny. Broward Chief Administrator Judge Jack Tudor asked Ehrlich not to return to work. While he didn't have the power to fire her, 2 days later, Ehrlich decided to announce an early retirement. We're in the Greenville County Courthouse in Greenville, South Carolina, for the sentencing of 19-year-old Tyler Scraggs. He's pleaded guilty to felony DUI resulting in death for a car crash that killed 16-year-old Haley Cantrell. News reports say Scraggs was driving 21 miles over the speed limit with meth, THC, and amphetamine in his system. That's when he lost control of his PT Cruiser, crossed over an embankment, and flipped the vehicle. Cantrell, who was riding in the car with Scraggs, was thrown from the vehicle and died at the hospital several days later. 2 others were hurt in the incident. No one was wearing a seatbelt. Scraggs has been in custody for 267 days. He faces up to 25 years in prison. Now in court, Tina Cantrell faces the man responsible for the death of her daughter.
This is anything. I'm trying to be strong for my story.
Fighting to hold back tears, Cantrell even blames herself for the loss of Haley.
I blame myself every day for letting her walk out that door.
Now it's Scraggs' turn to address Haley's family and friends. He's visibly shaken as he delivers his apology.
I'm very sorry. I know that y'all may not think I never think for that happened. So, I made a bad choice that day. Luckily, on everything, I had no remorse for it. It ate me alive for so long. And I just didn't know how to face you. Because I never wanted anyone to go through this every day of my life. I wish I could have changed and took her spot. I know you may not believe me, and I don't expect you to. But I hope that you do know that I really do. I am very sorry. I would have never wanted that for no one, and I don't expect you to forgive me. I truly don't. I just want you to know, no matter what happens here, I'm not even sorry.
The time has come for sentencing. But first, Tina Cantrell reacts to Scraggs' statement.
Tyler, I'm gonna date you. You're 18 years old. But your family, I don't care if you get 20 years, your family can still see your face. They still can hear your voice. I go to a grave and sleep on my daughter's grave. And one day, I hope I can forgive you, because I have to forgive you to get to heaven where my baby's at.
Finally, Scraggs hears from the judge.
I have to take into consideration the harm you caused by your actions, and that's immeasurable.
The judge decides to sentence Scraggs to 10 years in prison, plus the 267 days time served. That's it for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Cam.
Call the buzzer. Call the...
When were you legally insane?
When was I legally insane? Well, I think technically I'm legally insane now.
First, we're in Nashua, New Hampshire, for the trial of 21-year-old Christopher Gribble. He's charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit burglary, and a number of other charges. Gribble and 3 other young men allegedly broke into the home of David and Kimberly Cates, armed with a machete and a knife. They didn't know the victims, and investigators say their intention was to rob them. On the night of the crime, husband David was away on business, and Kimberly was in bed with her 11-year-old daughter, Jamie. When Gribble and his accomplices discovered the 2 in the master bedroom, they allegedly brutally stabbed them dozens of times and left them for dead. Kimberly died from her wounds, but Jamie miraculously survived, though she suffered multiple life-threatening injuries. After a friend of Gribble tipped off police, the suspected assailants were all arrested. During this police interview, Gribble confessed and offered graphic details about the attack.
I heard him hit the mom, and so I dove in and stabbed her a few times in the chest. I was controlled, but I didn't really feel much of anything. Steve hacked her a couple more times after that and threw the blanket over, but she was still breathing. Yeah. So I went over and stabbed her in the side of the neck.
When charged with the crime, Gribble pled not guilty by reason of insanity. At trial, the defense attempted to prove the defendant was insane at the time of the crime. But when Gribble took the stand, the prosecution, led by Jeffrey Strelzin, did their best to prove he was of sound mind the night of the attack.
You're saying you're legally insane.
I'm saying as my defense, yes.
Do you not believe in your defense?
I do believe in my defense.
You're a careful criminal, right?
Yes.
You had gloves on while you were in the case home, right?
Yes, I did.
And that was so you wouldn't leave behind any fingerprints.
Yes.
Don't like it in jail and you do want to get out, right?
That'd be nice, yes.
With the victim's husband, David Cates, watching from the gallery, the prosecution painted Gribble as a calculated killer who actually enjoyed the attention.
You actually told Dr. Times about a month ago that people in the jail have no idea how dangerous you are.
No, they don't.
Is that one of those times when you did that smile? Is that one of those times when you can kind of fake body language?
No. No, I smile because it's funny that all the people in there have no idea who they're messing with.
Well, they may not, but you'd agree the Cates family certainly knows how dangerous you are, right?
Well, yes.
After hearing all the evidence, the jury deliberated for 2 hours before returning a verdict.
Do you find him not guilty by reason of insanity or guilty?
We, the jury, find him guilty.
The jury found Gribble guilty on all charges. Later that day, Judge Abramson hands down the sentence.
You are sentenced in New Hampshire State Prison where you will remain incarcerated for life without any possibility of parole.
As for the 3 others involved in the crime, 17-year-old Stephen Spader, who also admitted to killing Kimberly Cates, was sentenced to life without parole. Quinn Glover and William Marks, who were both involved in the break-in, but not the actual killings, reached plea agreements with the state. Glover received a minimum of 20 years in prison for robbery, burglary, and conspiracy, and Marks was sentenced to at least 30 years for conspiracy to commit murder.
I didn't think about the consequences. All I could think about was my daughter.
Next, we're in Pontiac, Michigan, for the sentencing of Brian Randolph. 7 months earlier, the 23-year-old was caught on this security camera as he entered a credit union. Inside, he handed the teller a note demanding money, claiming he had a concealed shotgun, and ended up walking out with $8 grand in cash. But this wasn't a typical holdup. When Randolph was arrested 2 days later, he claimed he stole the money to pay for chemotherapy treatments, costing thousands of dollars for his 1-year-old daughter who suffers from cancer. Investigators discovered he was telling the truth. Some of the money from the robbery was used to get his daughter's insurance reinstated. Might sound like a Robin Hood story, but the prosecution wasn't buying it.
Did go on a shopping spree. When he was arrested in his car, there was a receipt inside the Gucci bag from 8/13, the day after the robbery. Purchase a t-shirt for $190, a pair of slippers for $160.
Now, before the judge hands down his sentence, Brian Randolph speaks for himself.
First, I'd like to apologize to the court. All I wanted was for my daughter to get her treatments. And even though what I did was wrong, they immediately got her insurance cut back from me. I never harmed no one, never gonna hurt anyone. I'm not a bad person at all.
Despite his apology, Judge James Alexander appears unmoved.
You know, every day in this country, somebody has a tragedy. But very, 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 very few people decide the way they deal with their tragedy by going to rob a bank. And then tell the media, oh, I did it to save my daughter, while you're running to Chicago and going on a shopping spree. And now you're standing here in front of me and you tell me what a wonderful guy you're not. You're not, you're a bank robber.
Judge Alexander hands down the maximum allowable sentence, 45 months to 25 years in prison for robbery. Brian Randolph served the minimum, 3 years and 9-month sentence before being paroled.
Please have mercy on Christine and I so we can still have a chance to grow old together as husband and wife.
Next, we head to Union, South Carolina, for the sentencing of Jeremy and Christine Moody, who are all smiles as they stand before the judge. No, they are not exchanging vows. They're already married. They're also neo-Nazis who were found guilty of first-degree murder in the killing of Charles Parker and his wife Gretchen. The Moody's targeted Parker, who they did not know, after seeing his address in a sex offender state registry. The couple also believed God wanted them to eliminate all sex offenders. Surveillance footage from the Parker home helped police locate the killers, as did Jeremy's tattoos, including skinhead written across his neck, white power atop his head. When the couple were questioned, they didn't deny their guilt. In fact, they both not only confessed, they told authorities they planned to kill more sex offenders. The Moody's pleaded guilty to murder, kidnapping, and burglary, and are in court asking Judge Lee Alford for mercy, as well as the minimum sentence of 30 years in prison.
Last charge. Your Honor, our day goes by that I don't regret it. This happened. I don't know what I've done as a sin, and I believe that God has forgiven me of it. Please have mercy on Christine and I so we can still have a chance to grow old together as husband and wife.
Next, it was Christine Moody's chance to plead for forgiveness.
The Bible clearly states, "Thou shalt not kill." I'm sorry I broke that commandment, but I truly believe God has forgiven Jeremy and I hope you will too. Your Honor, please see it fit that Jeremy and I are sentenced to the same sentence of 30 years. Never kissing my husband or feeling his touch again is my very worst nightmare. Please give us the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
After taking in their words of remorse and request to remain together, it's now all up to Judge Alford.
Brutally killed these two people. They had nothing, no way to defend themselves or anything else. And I tell you that I believe that if these two were to get out of jail, I would be concerned that they would do exactly the same thing. I have any question. I think this is a case that justice demands a life sentence.
After hearing their sentences, the murderous couple share a final kiss before they're separated. But as they exit the court, whatever remorse they tried to convey has quickly disappeared.
That's what child molesters get.
Outside the courthouse, the Moody's continue to express their true feelings.
I think Jeremy and I would have done it again if given the opportunity.
Do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Killing that pedophile was the best day of my life.
What about not being able to see Jeremy?
Jeremy and I have a love that will withstand that.
What about what you said in court about repenting? Is that not true then?
No, it's not true. My lawyer made me say it.
Do you have anything to say to the victim's family?
May they die also.
Jeremy and Christine Moody were both sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole.
Okay, next fellow would be Joseph Jerome Batten.
We're in the Broward County Bond Court in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The defendant is Joseph Jerome Batten, who's been charged with trespassing at a local track and casino for the second time in 2 months.
How you doing, Your Honor?
Good morning.
I do have a history, Your Honor. Can I speak to you, Your Honor?
In the past 2 years, Batten's made quite a habit of trespassing at local casinos. He's been convicted of it more than 10 times. So he knows the bond court drill, and he's not looking to resolve his case as the public defender suggested.
I already know I got a history. This man ain't said nothing to me now time in here this morning. All right, Your Honor? I'm just being frank with you. That's the only place I go. Only thing I do, as you can see, is nothing but trespassing. Cause that's my only entertainment. All right, is go to the track, and I like for you to make an offer. If I like it, I accept it.
Batten has just requested an offer of minimal jail time from the judge, and he's hoping it's an offer that'll work for him. He's also seemingly taken his case into his own hands.
You discharging your public defender at this time, sir?
No, I ain't discharged him, but he ain't presented the way I wanted to be presented. I ain't say resolve this. I said make an offer, which is how much time, whatever is 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I want to resolve it in that frame, in that fashion, sir.
As his attorney attempts to rejoin the conversation, Batten doesn't let him.
Judge, I've explained to Mr. Batten not to talk about the facts of the case.
Ain't no facts. We ain't going to trial. I'm asking you to make an offer, Your Honor. Straight up. The history, proof is in the pudding. That's the only thing I got. As you can see, ain't nobody been hurt. I ain't never intoxicated when I'm arrested, so it ain't nothing. You know what I mean? All it is trespassing, simple trespassing.
Batten's presentation is compelling enough to convince Judge John Contini to follow through on the request.
I understand, and I'm going to respect your request, sir. I'm going to go ahead and offer you a chance to be, if you were to plead no contest at this time, sir, I would offer you an adjudication. You'd be convicted, of course, as you have indicated. You have many of those already, and you'd be in, the plea offer would be 45 days in the Broward County Jail.
Judge Contini has extended an offer. Now the ball is in Batten's court.
Well, no, I ain't gonna accept 45 days. So I did 30 days last time, just a week ago. But my birthday coming up. I'm hoping you can say a week or two, and I agree with that. You know what I mean? 45 days? No, I think my regular judge will let me out before 45 days.
Well, you can already tell I'm not really a regular judge.
Judge Contini explains that since Batten is a repeat offender, 45 days in jail is a reasonable sentence.
Sir, you have a real history, and you've already indicated that's what you do, and that's what you're going to continue to do. So,
yeah, but ain't nobody been hurt. I ain't never intoxicated. I'm always bringing money from places.
I respect your decision. I respect your decision. Your decision is to decline the offer at this time. Is that right?
All right. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to accept the 45 days.
Okay. All right.
And in the end, Joseph Batten did not serve 45 days. He eventually appeared before a different judge, pled no contest to trespassing, and received just 17 days in jail. Next, we're at the city courthouse in St. Louis, Missouri. Longtime couple Don Wofford and Tawana Bass are joined by a justice of the peace and finally tying the knot after 20 years together.
You, Don Lamar Wofford, take Tawana LaToya Bass, lawfully wedded wife. Tawana, I wed thee. I pledge to you forever. My faith.
After Wofford recites his vows, his soon-to-be wife, well, she's not quite ready to recite her vows just yet.
And I am telling you, I'm not going. You're the best man I'll ever know, and there's no way I can.
As you can hear in the background, others in the courtroom take notice of the bride's powerful voice.
You're the best man I'll ever know,
But someone wants them to keep it down.
and there's no way I can ever go. No way.
As a surprise to her husband, Tawana belts out Jennifer Holiday's "And I'm Telling You" from the musical Dreamgirls.
I'm staying, and you're gonna love me. Oh, you're gonna love me.
All right, so Mr. Chavez, good morning.
Next, we go to bond court in Miami-Dade County. Judge Mindy Glazer presiding. The defendant is MMA fighter John Chavez. He's been charged with aggravated assault, burglary, and eluding police. The incident occurred after Chavez learned his mother filed a protection order against him. Once in her home, he allegedly smashed a cell phone, broke her glasses, and picked up a large kitchen knife. Chavez then took off as police arrived, and a manhunt ensued, forcing several schools in the area to go on lockdown. The defendant, who stands 6'2" and weighs 220, has a violent past that includes assault and battery charges. He was eventually captured in a neighbor's backyard near his mother's home. After his arrest, he's brought before Judge Glazer to learn if he'll get bail.
Sir, you were arrested for burglary to an occupied dwelling. It's from March 22nd. You have another case, aggravated assault, from March 21st. I'll appoint the public defender's office for you. Is he also out on felony bond?
Yes.
This is actually Chavez's second appearance before Judge Glazer in less than a week.
Good afternoon, sir. You were arrested for... Good afternoon.
Just a few days before the alleged attack on his mother, he was arrested for possession of a firearm by a felon. When the gun turned out to be a toy, the charges were dropped. But a kitchen knife is no toy, and today, Judge Glazer may not be as lenient. The public defender makes her case.
So the aggravated assault, Judge? There's no indication here that this gentleman ever threatened the alleged victim in this case.
Now it's up to Judge Glazer to make her decision.
There is probable cause for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. They didn't charge it that way, but that's what it is.
Chavez does not look happy, but Judge Glazer isn't finished.
Sir, you're ordered to stay away from, I guess it's your mother, Iris Chavez. No contact with Ms. Chavez, either directly, indirectly, in person, in writing, by telephone, or through third parties. No contact with the victim through social media or other electronic means.
Chavez tries to speak up, but what he may not realize is because he's in a different location than the judge, he can only be heard when his attorney presses this button. So he keeps on trying. No mic, no problem. Chavez won't give up. As far as his charges, for aggravated assault, the judge sets bond at $7,500. As for the burglary charge, the defendant is not so lucky.
I'm setting it no bond. There's probable cause for armed burglary. He had a knife in an enclosed area. Sir, I know it's upsetting right now for you.
Chavez grows more incensed.
Sir, I know you're upset. I'm sorry. Corrections, can you take him out?
Not much seems to be happening, so the judge tries again.
Corrections. Yes, they're coming out.
The charges against Chavez are ultimately dropped, and he's released. But 8 months later, he's convicted on new burglary charges. And he's sentenced to 7 years and 10 months in a Florida prison.
Okay.
That's it for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.